Evelyn lingered at the edge of the crowd long after the ceremony ended, pretending to scroll through her phone while her heart waged a silent war inside her chest. The sound of laughter, clinking metals, and distant waves blurred together. She could not take her eyes off Harper. Every detail hit her like a memory, the soft tilt of Harper's chin, the way she tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, the calm she carried like an armor. It was the same calm that used to silence Evelyn's storms, the same calm that left when Harper did. The new woman, Harper's look-alike, stood close, whispering something that made Harper laugh. Evelyn felt the sound echo through her ribs like a ghost of what used to be. It was hauntingly beautiful and excruciating all at once. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. Evelyn adjusted her sunglasses, lifted her chin, and walked forward, heels clicking with the confidence of a woman who had built empires but lost her heart. "Harper," she said softly, when she was close enough to smell the faint trace of vanilla and sea salt that she remembered far too well. Harper froze. That same controlled smile faltered as she turned. "Evelyn," she breathed, her voice still gentle, still melodic. "It's been a while." 3 years, Evelyn replied, unable to stop herself from counting aloud. "Not that I've been keeping track." Harper's lips twitched, half amusement, half heartbreak. "You look the same." Evelyn smiled faintly. "You don't. You look happier." Her gaze flicked toward the woman beside Harper, who now regarded Evelyn with a polite curiosity, unaware of the invisible history stretching between them. "Oh," Harper said, almost shyly, "this is Lauren. She's the woman who looks just like me," Evelyn finished, her tone sharper than she intended. Lauren blinked, confused. Harper's cheeks colored faintly, her composure cracking. "Evelyn," Harper murmured, "this isn't." But Evelyn held up a hand. "It's fine. Truly. You don't owe me an explanation." Still, her chest ached with every word. The space between them felt electric, as if the past was still alive, breathing, trembling, desperate to be acknowledged. Lauren excused herself politely, sensing the undercurrent. Once she was gone, Harper sighed. "I didn't know you'd be here." "Neither did I," Evelyn whispered. "Fate, I suppose. Or maybe punishment." They stood in silence, eyes locked, the air thick with everything they hadn't said. Evelyn wanted to hate her, for moving on, for smiling that same way at someone else. But when Harper reached up and tucked that same strand of hair behind her ear, a gesture Evelyn had loved, she felt the years between them collapse into dust. "Evelyn," Harper said quietly, "I never stopped caring." The words landed like fire. Evelyn swallowed hard. "Then why did you leave?" Harper's answer was soft, broken. "Because love wasn't enough when we were both breaking." The California sun glimmered on the ocean as guests filled the stands for the Navy SEAL graduation ceremony. The crowd buzzed with pride, families clutching flags, friends holding flowers, and cameras flashing against the crisp white uniforms that shimmered in the distance. Among them, standing tall yet restless, was Evelyn Hart, a billionaire CEO who built her fortune on elegance and control, traits that rarely failed her. But today, her composure cracked at the edges. She wasn't supposed to be here. Not really. Her attendance was a quiet favor to a friend whose son was graduating, but fate, it seemed, had other plans. When the graduates marched in perfect unison, Evelyn's gaze froze mid-motion, because there she was. Harper Vale. Her ex-wife. The name alone was enough to punch the air out of Evelyn's lungs. Harper, once the quiet flame of her chaos, now stood among the proud spectators in a navy blue dress that clung gently to her form, her auburn hair cascading over her shoulders, catching the light like something sacred. Evelyn's heart stuttered, memories flooding her vision, the laughter, the late-night confessions, the storm that tore them apart. But what truly made Evelyn's chest tighten was not just Harper's presence. It was the woman standing beside her, tall, elegant, dark-haired, and hauntingly familiar. She was the kind of mirror that didn't reflect your face but your soul. The woman's posture, her sharp gaze, even the tilt of her smile, it was Evelyn, reborn in someone else's skin. For a moment, Evelyn couldn't breathe. The world dulled around her. The proud speeches faded into background noise. Her pulse roared louder than the applause. She had seen Harper with dates before, casual, distant, forgettable. But this was different. Harper's hand rested gently on the woman's arm, the same way she used to rest it on Evelyn's when she wanted to say "I'm proud of you" without words. Evelyn's fingers clenched around her clutch. Every instinct screamed for her to leave, but her body refused to move. The ache she thought she buried years ago rose to the surface, raw, alive, and merciless. When the ceremony ended and families rushed forward to congratulate the graduates, Harper turned. Their eyes met across the sea of uniforms and sunlit faces. For a fraction of a second, Evelyn saw recognition flicker in Harper's gaze, shock, longing, and a quiet pain that mirrored her own. Then Harper smiled, small and controlled, before turning back to the woman beside her. Evelyn's heart shattered into the silence that followed. Evelyn stood there, trying to steady her breath. The sun had begun its descent, painting the sky in gold and rose, and it only made the moment more unreal, like the universe itself was holding its breath for them. "Breaking," Evelyn echoed, her voice low. "We weren't broken, Harper. We were just scared." Harper looked down, her fingers twisting around the strap of her purse. "You were building a company. I was building a life. We stopped building us." Evelyn's throat tightened. "You walked out without a word. No closure. Just a note on the piano." "I couldn't stay and keep loving a version of you that didn't have room for me," Harper said, tears flickering in her eyes. "You were surrounded by glass walls and deadlines, and I was losing you piece by piece. Every night, I went to bed wondering if you'd even notice if I disappeared." Evelyn's gaze softened. "I noticed, Harper. Every single day after." They both laughed quietly, the kind of laugh people share when the pain is too heavy to hold alone. For a heartbeat, they were the same two women again, arguing late at night, making up under dim lights, promising each other forever with trembling hands. Evelyn reached out instinctively, brushing a tear from Harper's cheek. The touch was light, hesitant, but it carried all the weight of the years between them. Harper didn't pull away. "You still wear the same perfume," Evelyn whispered. "God, it's torture." Harper smiled faintly through her tears. "You still say things that make it impossible to breathe." For a long moment, they just stood there, too close, too aware. The wind carried the scent of salt and rain, the murmur of the ocean folding around them like a memory. "I didn't mean to fall apart without you," Evelyn murmured, voice trembling. "I just didn't know how to hold everything at once, my dreams, my empire, and you." "I know," Harper said softly. "And I didn't mean to stop loving you. I just had to start loving myself." Those words hit Evelyn harder than any goodbye. She had spent years convincing herself that Harper left because she was weak, emotional, afraid of the fire they created together. But hearing her say it now, Evelyn realized Harper had left to survive. When Harper's phone buzzed, reality snapped back between them. "That's Lauren," she said gently. "I should go." Evelyn nodded, her chest aching. "Of course. She seems lovely." Harper hesitated, eyes searching Evelyn's. "She's kind. But she's not you." Evelyn froze, heart stumbling. "Then why her?" "Because she reminds me of what I once believed in," Harper whispered. "And what I lost." As Harper turned to leave, Evelyn felt something inside her crack open, something that had been sealed for years. The woman she once loved was walking away again, but this time, the silence between them felt like a question still waiting to be answered. Evelyn didn't remember driving back to her hotel. The Pacific glittered beyond the windshield, but all she could see was Harper's face when she said, "She's not you." Those 3 words looped like a forgotten song, sweet, painful, unfinished. That night, the penthouse felt too big. Glass walls, white sheets, the faint scent of champagne from a business dinner she'd skipped. Success had never looked lonelier. She poured herself a drink she didn't need, watching the city lights shimmer like scattered memories. She told herself she wouldn't see Harper again. But fate, impatient and cruel, had other plans. The next morning, Evelyn went for coffee at the Harbor Cafe below her hotel, needing air more than caffeine. The place was half empty, sunlight sliding across the tables. She ordered her usual, turned, and froze. Harper was there. Alone this time. A paperback in hand, hair tied loosely, sunglasses pushed up like she'd walked straight out of Evelyn's memory. For a second, neither moved. Then Harper smiled, soft and surprised. Guess fate has a sense of humor. Evelyn managed a breath. Or terrible timing. They both laughed, awkwardly, but warmly. Harper gestured to the seat across from her. Join me? Evelyn hesitated, then sat. The air between them hummed again, that same familiar electricity that had never really died. For a while, they talked like old friends testing fragile ground, about work, travel, the little things that had filled the spaces since they last said goodbye. Harper mentioned her humanitarian projects abroad, Evelyn spoke of her new ventures and the way success sometimes felt like silence. When the small talk faded, Harper looked out toward the water. You know, I thought seeing you yesterday would break me. But it didn't. Evelyn tilted her head. No? Harper shook her head slowly. It reminded me that what we had was real. Messy, yes, but real. And that I'm finally strong enough to face it. Evelyn felt her throat tighten. And what do you see when you look at me now? Harper met her eyes, steady, searching. The woman I loved. The one I lost. And maybe, the one I never stopped wishing would choose me over everything else. The world seemed to quiet around them. Evelyn reached across the table, fingers brushing Harper's. The contact was barely there, but it sent a pulse through both of them, something old, something alive. I can't change the past, Evelyn whispered, but maybe I can show you who I am now. Harper's breath caught. Then show me, Evelyn. Not the CEO. Not the public name. You. A single tear slipped down Evelyn's cheek, and Harper's thumb was there, gentle as memory. The moment held, delicate, dangerous, full of possibilities. When Harper finally stood to leave, she lingered by the door. Dinner tomorrow? No ghosts. Just us. Evelyn nodded, heart trembling. Tomorrow. As Harper disappeared into the morning light, Evelyn exhaled a shaky smile. Maybe love didn't die, maybe it simply waited for courage. The next evening, the restaurant glowed with soft amber lights and the hum of quiet jazz. Evelyn arrived early, her nerves humming beneath her polished calm. She'd faced corporate boards, world leaders, and billion-dollar negotiations, but nothing compared to the flutter in her chest as she waited for Harper. Then she appeared. Harper stepped into the room wearing a simple black dress that moved like silk in candlelight. For a moment, Evelyn forgot how to breathe. Harper smiled when she saw her, tentative, sincere, the kind of smile that used to unmake Evelyn completely. You look beautiful, Evelyn said, standing as Harper approached. So do you, Harper replied softly. Still impossible not to notice. They sat, and for a while, conversation flowed easily, memories traded like delicate artifacts, laughter breaking through the years of silence. They reminisced about the cabin in Oregon where they'd spent one snowy Christmas, about Evelyn's disastrous first attempt at cooking, about the silly arguments that never really mattered. But beneath the laughter, something deeper stirred, a quiet awareness neither could name without trembling. When the waiter left them alone after the meal, Harper leaned back, studying Evelyn with that same look she used to give her when she was painting, half wonder, half disbelief. You seem softer, she murmured. The walls aren't as high anymore. Evelyn smiled faintly. Maybe I finally realized walls don't keep pain out. They just keep love from finding a way back in. Harper's eyes shimmered. You always had a way of saying things that stay with me. Silence lingered, heavy but gentle. Outside, rain began to tap softly against the windows, blurring the world into watercolor shades. Evelyn reached for Harper's hand across the table. The touch was natural, instinctive. Fingers met, hesitated, then intertwined like they used to, familiar, electric, right. Harper's thumb brushed her skin, and Evelyn felt her pulse quicken. "I never stopped missing you," Evelyn whispered. "Even when I tried to." Harper's voice trembled. "You hurt me, Evelyn. But I hurt you too. I walked away because I didn't know how to love someone who never stopped moving." "And now?" Evelyn asked quietly. Harper smiled, sad, hopeful. "Now I think maybe we've both stopped running." The space between them disappeared. They leaned closer, not in hunger, but in something gentler, more fragile. Evelyn could feel Harper's breath, warm and steady, as if the years apart were dissolving with every heartbeat. She brushed a strand of hair from Harper's cheek, her fingers trembling. "You still make me nervous," she whispered. "Good," Harper murmured, her smile trembling. "That means it still matters." They didn't kiss, not yet. The moment was too sacred, too full of everything unsaid. Instead, they just sat there, hands entwined, hearts remembering how to find their rhythm again. The storm that night didn't stop Evelyn from walking Harper home. The rain shimmered under the streetlights, wrapping the world in silver, and they moved beneath one umbrella like they used to, close but careful, laughing softly at every splash. It felt like stepping into an old photograph that had somehow come to life. When they reached Harper's apartment building, neither wanted to let go. The air smelled of rain and jasmine, the same scent that clung to Harper's hair. "Do you want to come up?" Harper asked quietly, hesitant but hopeful. Evelyn's heart stuttered. "If I do, I might not want to leave again." "Then don't," Harper said, barely above a whisper. Inside, the lights were soft, golden. Evelyn wandered through the familiar space that somehow still felt like home. The piano in the corner, the shelves of travel books, everything carried echoes of their past life together. Harper set 2 cups of tea on the table. "You know," she said, smiling shyly, "I used to imagine what I'd say if we ever met again. I rehearsed 1,000 versions. And now I can't remember a single one." Evelyn chuckled softly. "That's okay. Some things don't need rehearsing." They sat close on the couch, watching the rain trace lines down the glass. Evelyn turned to Harper, studying her like she was seeing color for the first time after years of grayscale. "I've spent so long trying to forget you," Evelyn said softly. "And all I managed to do was miss you better." Harper's eyes glistened. "You built an empire, Evelyn. You conquered the world. But I never wanted your empire. I just wanted you." Evelyn's voice cracked. "Then maybe it's time I finally give you that." For a long, suspended heartbeat, neither moved. Then Harper reached out and touched Evelyn's face, the lightest trace of fingers, like she was afraid the moment would break if she pressed too hard. Evelyn leaned into the touch, her eyes closing, her hand covering Harper's. It wasn't about passion or apology anymore. It was about recognition. About 2 souls that had wandered too far only to find their way back, older, wiser, and still in love. When their lips finally met, it wasn't fiery, it was slow, aching, honest. A promise reborn in the quiet between thunder and breath. Afterward, they stayed close, foreheads touching, hearts steady. "Do you think we can really start over?" Harper whispered. Evelyn smiled, eyes bright with tears. "Not start over. Continue. We just had to learn how to love without losing ourselves." Outside, the storm softened into mist. The city lights shimmered on the wet streets, and somewhere in the distance, a piano began to play, a familiar tune, full of memory and hope. Evelyn held Harper's hand, her voice a murmur against the rhythm of rain. "I used to think success was having everything. But now I know, it's having you, and still choosing myself, too." Harper smiled through her tears. "Then maybe this time, we both win."